We often mistake happiness for a guarantee. We imagine a crown we inherit, a sudden windfall of wealth, or a promise of endless idle comfort. But the original blueprint for this idea was built to strip away the divine rights of kings. It left the individual unshackled, standing alone in the road. It started as a fragile claim, drafted in ink on parchment. This was a self-evident truth, but one steeped in test and lacking any guarantee of an easy life. The framing focused on clearing the path. It allowed anyone to shape a future from the past, provided they were willing to walk the road. The covenant grants the right to yearn. It gives us permission to chase, but it explicitly denies the right to simply be fed. Transforming that abstract yearning into a place to rest takes raw, continuous labor. It drives the plow and fuels the rise, carving a promised land out of the dust. We end up with tethered hope. It is elastic and distinctly unsure, bending to promise far more than it can immediately cure. It pulls us forward into the striving. Because it isn't an object you can inherit, happiness demands the constant friction of effort. We stumble, and yet in that friction we grow. For that fragile paper promise to survive, it had to collide with the real world and be tested against entrenched systems of oppression. Those systems were physically broken. Shackles branded into bone were dismantled, link by link, to widen the road for whoever came next. The cost of that testing phase was paid in blood and mapped across the soil of places like Gettysburg and Selma's Lane. The ultimate price of this pursuit is measured in the silent rows of Arlington. These individuals fought for a justice they would never personally inherit. The rest they found beneath these crosses becomes a charge to carry freedom further. Every marker acts as a mandate. The shackled hands, once branded into bone, now rise in modern courtrooms carved from granite. When justice is proclaimed in our time, the breath returns to those buried in nameless graves. That historical momentum continues to rewrite the psalms of the land, stretching the law from the tongue of justice rather than an iron hand. We see it in the expansion of the vote to include women's voices. We see it as disability is embraced with equal care, and as marriage is broadened by the quiet rulings of a judge. And the covenant captures the newly arrived, from a girl in Queens with a mother fresh off a flight, to families spinning together in a circle dance. The nation absorbs a massive influx of fresh dreams. The Constitution awakens in bassinets from border towns to the heartland, a blueprint that breathes new life through every generation. There is a common mathematical fallacy that fear tries to sell us, a zero-sum game. The idea that if someone else gains joy or rights, it must be subtracted from your own supply. We see the opposite. Joy is not a fixed limit. When rights are shared among diverse groups, they multiply. The shared harvest swells, expanding the total capacity of the entire nation. You see this multiplier effect in the raw materials of our lives. When different heritages combine their recipes, tools, and labor, the resulting harvest sustains us all in ways we couldn't achieve alone. So we have to guard this right. Not the right to be endlessly pleased or kicked comfortable, but the enduring freedom to strive, to shape the self and the nation. Imperfect as our labor may be, happiness remains something we actively create together, the ultimate collective harvest of a unified people.